Greek civilization, from deepest antiquity, has expressed itself in a myriad of cultures, traditions, and most fascinating of all, its dialects. From Helen of Troy to Hypatia of Alexandria, this video essay will be an exhaustive explanation of the ornate aspects of all ancient Greek varieties and their complex interactions across time and space. Okay. So I would really love to tell you every single wonderful, interesting, and fascinating detail about the Proto-Greek and the Mycenaean and the Homeric and the Aeolic and all these different things, and there are different phonologies and grammars and all these wonderful little details and how that goes into Koine and what happens to the classical Greek dialects after the classical period. But every time I sat down to write that script, sat down, of course, is figuratively speaking because I have a standing desk, it just became so unbelievably and ungainly long that I realized I would never finish it. Well, it would just take forever to write it and forever plus one to edit that video. So instead, today I am going to tell you the briefest summary outline of the ancient Greek dialects in the classical period. So just the classical Greek period dialects. I hope you enjoy this. I'm Luke, and this is Plymothy. The most important thing to remember is never to draw your own maps for YouTube if you can possibly help it, because drawing maps and making them look good on YouTube takes forever. So I'm just grabbing these lovely maps from Wikipedia, which are redrawn from the Roger D. Woodard 2008 paper called Greek Dialects. But my key source for this discussion is Horrocks' Greek, A History of the Language and Its Speakers, and also these books. Links to the sources in the description. So the dialects in the classical period, and the Greek classical period is different from the Roman classical period. The Greek classical period goes from the late 6th century to the mid-4th century BC, before Alexander the Great went hog wild or whatever he did in Asia. Thus, the dialects in the classical period are divided into three major groups: Western Greek, Central Greek, and Eastern Greek. Now, to be perfectly frank with you, these terms kind of, well, they suck, because as you can see, Eastern Greek, that goes way up in the north. Central Greek includes the ancient Cypriot dialect, which is off the map. Wait, where is Cyprus? Holy cow. Yeah, so Central Greek is technically the most eastern, and Western Greek, well, that's way up here, but yeah, it's in the west, so that's good. But also goes way east to Rhodes. So technically, Central Greek and Western Greek are both more Eastern than Eastern Greek. Oh, no, wait, I forgot about the Hellespont. So Eastern Greek is the most Eastern. Darn it. No, Western Greek, beat it again in the Bosphorus. The Bosphorus. So as you can see, the Greeks decided to make everything about their language as difficult and complicated as possible right from the very start. Oppa! And I haven't even mentioned the dialects of the Greek colonies in Italy. It's like they threw this Greek fruit salad into a blender. Fun fact, the Italian word for fruit salad is Macedonia, named after Macedonia, probably referring to the Greek ethnic variety that distinguished that region. Philip II of Macedon was ironically the one to put this whole mess in order and unite the clans.
Unite the clans.
And the reason for this crazy mishmash are the ancient migrations and the colonizations and the repatriations and reconquistations, which I promise I wouldn't talk about today. So each of these dialect groups has a prominent dialect that you've probably heard of. West Greek's most famous dialect is Doric, Central Greek's star is Aeolic, and East Greek has Ionic. We're gonna talk later about Attic, don't worry, we're gonna get there, just be patient. Now, each of these dialects has, you guessed it, more dialects. Yay!
Yay! Yay! Yay! Yay!
They're not called subdialects, though, they're just dialects. Dialects within dialects of dialects. Just like Carl Sagan. Billions and billions. Hey, is it Sagan or Sagan? Oh, it's Sagan? You're making that up. All right, so like Carl Sagan said. What do you mean you didn't say it?
Who said billions and billions?
I never said it. I never, ever said it.
He's off the hook, everybody.
Okay, well, fine, he never said it in Cosmos, but he says it for realsies here.
How much money? Billions and billions.
So I count that. Now, to learn ancient Greek, thankfully you don't have to learn billions and billions of dialects. You just have to learn Attic and you get Koine for free because they're practically the same. And the best way to do that is with the amazing courses at the Ancient Language Institute. I'm a Greek and Latin fellow at Aeoli, having proudly been part of the school since its inception, even teaching many classes with absolutely wonderful students, and I also helped develop the curricula for the Greek and Latin programs. What do those curricula entail exactly? Well, at Aeoli, we believe in the direct method of language acquisition, teaching you to read, listen, and even speak ancient Greek from day one, so you can understand the text intuitively without the need for excessive translation. And before you know it, your instructor will be speaking Greek to you, and you'll be speaking right back. It's an amazing experience to gain fluency in a foreign language, and in an ancient language, it's even cooler. And if you're really looking to accelerate your Hellenic fluency, it's not too late to sign up for Aeoli's Summer Bible Camp, conducted entirely in ancient Greek. Whether you prefer Attic or Koine, you'll get to put it into practice here in a truly unique experience with my amazing colleagues. But it's not just ancient Greek at Aeoli. We have Latin, Hebrew, and even Old English, and there are new cohorts starting for all four this autumn. Registration for the fall term closes August 12th. And the fall term is the only time of year that you can enroll in the beginner Hebrew program, so you don't want to miss that. And the Latin for Kids program happens this fall. It's a year-long program, and there are different cohorts for elementary, middle, and high school students. As for the Greek curriculum, you don't need to master all the dialects right away, but you will get some good exposure to them in the courses, as they are a fascinating and important part of ancient Greek literature. Now about those dialects. So we have West Greek, Central Greek, and East Greek. West Greek's famous dialect is Doric. For Central Greek, it's Aeolic. And for East Greek, it's Ionic. And the Doric dialect has lots of dialects in it, like Laconian, Rhodian, and Cretan.
Okay, first of all, it's Crete.
While Aeolic has Lesbian, Boeotian, and Thessalian. And Ionic has Western, Central, and Eastern. Wait, what? So you're telling me there is an Eastern, Central, and Western within Eastern, Central, and Western? Did somebody at the jerk store come up with this?
Well, the jerk store called. They're running out of you.
What's the difference? You're their all-time bestseller.
Now, to simplify this, someone decided to take a different tactic, organizing the dialects by their genetic relationship in a family tree. In this model, there are just two major groups, descended from Common Greek. No, that's not Koine, by the way, just in case you were confused. Common Proto-Greek, shall we say. West Greek branches off into Northwest Greek and Peloponnesian Doric, which have branches like Megarian and Phocian, respectively. East Greek, meanwhile, has Ionic, also called Attic Ionic, because we know just how prickly those Athenians can be, and Arcado-Cypriot, which was in the Central group, but we've ditched that for this model. That means that East Greek is way over here in the West. Nice. Arcado-Cypriot is understood to be the descendant of Mycenaean. Yes, the Mycenaeans being that dominant force in the Greek world of the Bronze Age, before the Dark Age.
Before the dark times.
Which explains why Arcadian and Cypriot are so far apart, yet related. Now, to simplify all this, Mycenaean and the other East Greek dialects are grouped together into South Greek, while Doric and Northwest Greek are called North Greek. And just to make it super duper clear, sometimes these are called Southeast Greek and Northwest Greek, which isn't the same as Northwest Greek in the West Greek of the Greek classical period. You getting all this?
Stardate 51462. The doctor's program is transmitted to a Starfleet vessel on the outskirts of the
Stardate
Alpha Quadrant.
49522.
Chakotay recommends establishing
Detecting
trade
secret
relations.
communication.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. So what happened to Aeolic? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Aeolic was discovered to have close genetic affinities. The term genetic here has nothing to do with human heredity. It simply means the two language varieties are related through a parent language. Aeolic was discovered to have close genetic affinities with West Greek, and that it is indeed a subset of Northwest Greek in particular. Except that it also has a lot in common with Attic. Boeotian, which is a dialect of the Aeolian dialect, says talatta for C, just like Attic, whereas it's talassa in the other dialects. Attic has tosos, like the rest of Ionic, but Boeotian has totos, more like West Greek, while Ionic says purasso, and Attic and Boeotian has purato. You guys understand now why I haven't tried to reconstruct Homer's pronunciation yet? Whose dialect was a mishmash of all of this nonsense, mixed over 400 years of Dark Ages? Reconstructing the stuff in the classical period is hard enough as it is.
I'll tell you the truth, Dad. I wasn't good at it right away, so I quit. I hope you're not mad.
Son, come here. Of course I'm not mad. If something's hard to do, then it's not worth doing.
I feel like Fourier analysis will be easier to explain at this point. So the family tree model is useless. Unless you're the Ptolemies. Inbreeding much? But that's the fact of the matter. Divergent language varieties in close contact with each other are bound to influence each other and have parallel developments, as with Attic and Boeotian, and others might have accidental convergence, developing the same innovation without having been influenced one by the other. Attic is definitely one of these mixed dialects. One of the most distinct characteristics of the Attic dialect, passed down into Koine, that's Guinea for you modern Greek speakers, is the long alpha, a. Well, in Ionic dialects, this a becomes e in many positions, written with the letter eta, such as mater, from earlier mater, and there are first declension words like pile and eparchie. In Attic, however, after rho, iota, or epsilon, that long alpha stays a long alpha, eparchia. So given all of this variety and difficulty of classification, how should we order all of this in our minds for the purposes of a brief and superficial introduction to this topic? Ionic is divided into Eastern Ionic, like in Miletus, Central Ionic, like on Delos, and Western Ionic, as on Euboea. Euboea. That's the ticket.
Yeah, that's it, ticket.
Aeolic was spoken in somewhat distinct varieties in Boeotia, Thessaly, and Lesbos. Northwestern Greek, sometimes thought to be a subset of Doric and called Northwest Doric sometimes, was spoken in Epirus and in Elis. Then there's Achaean Doric. Oh, did you not notice that color? Here, let me make that clearer for you. Enhance. Enhance. And finally, Doric proper, including Laconic.
This is Sparta!
Very laconically spoken, Leonidas. So what classical era authors fit into these dialects? I'll just give you 3 examples. Herodotus, the first historian... Herodotus wrote in Ionic. The poet Sappho wrote in Aeolic, and Alcman, another poet, wrote in Doric. And as for the classical Attic authors, well, there's a ton of them, so let's just name one of the philosophers. Plato. Various Greek city-states had colonized southern Italy, still called Magna Grecia today, bringing their dialects with them. As you can see, we've definitely blenderized the fruit salad here. Here's some Ionic and, there's some Ionic. Oh, but there's Doric. Oh, and that's Northwest Greek, Ionic, Doric again, and Achaean here.
Here, and here. You can never find
a colony settled by Achaean Doric speakers
when you're mad.
So we had some fun today at the expense of the ancient Greek dialects, or maybe they did at my expense, because whether you've studied this before and found it frustrating, or you haven't studied it yet and you might have found it confusing, that's okay, because it is confusing, and it can be frustrating. So with this brief introduction of the general geography and landscape out of the way, we can drill down into the really interesting things. The comparative grammar and morphology and the pronunciation of all of these different dialects to as much detail as we can possibly figure out, because it teaches us so many interesting things about what happens after and also what happens before the classical period. It's an incredibly rich and beautiful literature to explore, and I can't wait to do that with you. Thanks again to the Ancient Language Institute, and thanks above all to each and every one of my Patreon supporters. Hugianete, kai walete. Oh no, what about Macedonian?
billions, billion, trillion, trillion, million, 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 billion, 400 billion suns.